Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and today I wanted to talk about Astronarch. And Astronarch is a new Auto-Battler Roguelike that just recently came out, and it is a ton of fun and has way more depth than you might expect. And before we jump into the review, I do just want to let you guys know that I was given an early review copy of the game in order to make a video for you all. I never let that influence my reviews, I just like staying as transparent as possible. So Astronarch is an auto-battler, and that phrase is something that kind of has a negative connotation to a lot of people. It makes a lot of people think of those terrible mobile games that autoplay themselves and want you to spend thousands of dollars in in-app purchases, but let me just tell you, Astronarch is nothing like that. It takes the auto-battling mechanic and fleshes it out to create an extremely unique roguelike that has so much character. And if you've played any auto chess game, the way the combat works might be familiar to you. So in Astronarch, you start off by picking 3 different heroes from a roster of 20 unique characters. They all have a passive and an active ability, along with having different stats. And these passive and active abilities can be completely different things, from casting fire at enemies and applying burn to them, to gaining more max HP the further you are in the game, and other crazy things. And so you choose 3 heroes you think would synergize well with each other, and you can place them in different formations. So you probably want your healers or magic casters to be in the back, while more tanky heroes are in the front. You then start going on your adventure to save the realm, and there are 3 different paths, and each encounter you choose one of the paths next to you. It's sort of like Slay the Spire or other similar games, except it's a little easier to get from one path to another. And a lot of encounters are enemies that you must fight, and because this is an auto-battler, you choose when to start combat, and from there, all of the characters just fight automatically. They auto-attack every couple of seconds depending on their speed, and their mana slowly goes up, and when their bar fills up, they'll cast their active ability automatically. And if one of your heroes dies, you lose 1 morale, and if you clear the encounter without anyone on your side dying, you actually gain some morale back. And how this works is that you don't just automatically lose if all of your heroes die, and also your characters don't keep their HP from encounter to encounter. It automatically gets reset back to 100%. Instead, if your party's morale gets to 0, then you lose the entire run. So overall, the game is still super challenging, especially later on in the game, but it feels a little more fair, as if you just get hard countered in a single combat, the entire run isn't ruined, you just lose some morale, and I really like that. And just because the combat happens on its own doesn't mean that you have no influence on it. First of all, the entire game is about trying to make good synergies with your characters, but also you're in charge of positioning your characters. So before every fight, you can rearrange your heroes depending on who the enemies are and who they're attacking. So you can make sure your characters are fighting who you want them to and are protecting those that might be a little more squishy. Also, after every combat, you get potions you can use in the middle of fights that do things like healing all your teammates, or stunning enemies, or giving your heroes shields, or more. You also get items that you can equip to your heroes, and this is where a ton of the depth comes in. There is a huge variety of items that allow you to make different builds and strategies that change each run. So even if you pick the same heroes each game, the items you find are going to be different and make you pick different approaches. There are also different rarities of items, and so some of the legendaries are so cool. You can get items that make one of your heroes revive the first time they die each fight, or have them deal just an insane amount of extra damage, or have them deal random status effects or damage over time effects every time they attack someone. You also can go to shops to buy new items and upgrade the items you have to make them even stronger. On top of that, throughout the game, mainly when you fight elite enemies, which are harder encounters, sort of like Slay the Spire, or bosses, you get these passive or active gems that allow you to upgrade either a hero's passive or their active, depending on which gem you got. So you can really make some of your heroes super strong, and it's so cool because you can kind of focus on a few of the party members in your entire party to make them kind of the stars of the show. Like, you could have a single healer in your party and just upgrade their abilities to max and give them a bunch of upgraded legendary items and just make them a god tier healer, or you could try focusing more on upgrading and gearing up your tank hero you got. You know, it's all up to you. And so there is just so much freaking depth in the game in terms of creating the perfect team comp, thinking on the fly with how to utilize the items you got, who to upgrade, and more. And after you clear the first section, you get to choose one more party member, and when you clear the next section, you get to pick one more as well. Eventually, you'll get to the boss and either win or not. And if you win, congrats. If not, that's what roguelikes are for. And when you first beat the game, you unlock corruption levels, which are like ascension levels in Slay the Spire. They make the game harder and harder, and once you beat Corruption 1, you can try to beat Corruption 2, and on and on and on, and there's 20 levels total. And beyond that, the game actually has some pretty cool and motivating progression for a roguelike. When you first start the game, there are a lot of heroes locked that you unlock either by completing certain achievements or getting to a certain corruption level. And I like how there's two different ways to unlock each character, either by grinding out the ascension levels or by doing certain achievements. Beyond that, there are a handful of achievements you can get that add cosmetics to the main tavern, and also whenever you beat a corruption level with a specific hero, you prestige them, which just gives them awesome cosmetic auras, which look really, really freaking cool. So beyond the unlockable characters, there's no progression that impacts gameplay, so it's definitely a roguelike, but the fact that it has such interesting progression, mainly with the prestige system, is really awesome and adds a crap ton of replayability to the game. The art style in the game is very clean, and the character and enemy design is really, really good, and the soundtrack is solid as well. So overall, Astronarch is honestly shaping up to be one of my newest favorite roguelikes. I am a sucker for auto chess and auto battler games, and in my opinion, this is one of the best auto battler roguelikes out there right now, if not just one of the best auto battlers in general. The character design is top notch, the progression is great enough to warrant putting hundreds of hours in, and the game is just straight up a ton of fun. So if you are a fan of strategic roguelikes, I would highly, highly recommend this game. But if you have played Astronarch or just from watching gameplay, I would love to know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Also, if you want to see what a full run of Astronarch looks like, then definitely check out my Let's Play I made before this video. And if you enjoy roguelites and roguelikes as much as I do, then consider subscribing and ringing that bell like all the big boy YouTubers say, because I cover so many of them on my channel, as they are one of my favorite game genres of all time. But if you're going to be grinding out some games of Astronarch, I wish you luck, and see you all next time.